I just recorded a 45-minute video that I wanted to be under 30 minutes, really under 15 minutes. But instead of, I'm going to go straight to the point. Hopefully this one's less than 5 minutes, and maybe even less than 3. All right. So I did a litmus test and found out, look, here's a list on my website. And my website is https://ycs.wordpress.com. And it's called Chase Sense with Y. And I never see that title when I'm working with it. It's a title that came up. Chase Sense with WHY. And then, but I have my logo is Learn Y with a letter Y. Learn, then capital Y. And my phrase, I don't even remember what you call it, but my slogan, I guess, is Chasing Sense Makes Sense. And my name is Sense Chaser Bob. That's my pen name here. Nickname, pen name. And making sense, chase sense. Chasing sense makes sense. That's why I call myself Sense Chaser Bob. And I like my name. Some people have made fun of the fact that they don't believe that I make sense. But I'm chasing sense, right? And I do think I make more sense than most people. I make more sense than anybody I've ever met. Because I try to. And most people don't care. Who cares? Nobody cares. It's either that or they don't want to hear the truth. They want to be able to, they support lies or, so the fact that, it's a little tough because I don't have the best memory. I probably have a 45 percentile memory out of, 100%. I'm probably falling the 45 percentile bracket. And it does affect the way I eat, affects my memory. And if I stay off caffeine, my memory's a lot better. But recently I've done caffeine. Anyway, so right now I'm on detox from caffeine. Second day. But, and I feel the headache coming in already. But, so taxes, the title of this article, I have to go all the way to the top. I didn't want to take this time, is that it's a litmus test. I can't read it that way, but it's a litmus test assessing policies people align with to objectively see where one fits political party-wise or in between. And so that's what I did, and I found out I was in a different... I'm not surprised, but I aligned differently than I thought I did. Because when I always call myself independent, and I'm registered independent, used to be Republican, and I still lean Republican. I agree with a lot of Republicans. Mostly I'm that because of drug policies. In my last video, it explained my drug policies, and it took 45 minutes. That did a lot of that, explaining why I'm libertarian almost on law enforcement and that kind of stuff. Because I want police out of our business mostly and just protecting us, right? To summarize it, protecting from theft and violence. And so, and I think that's the right, for the most part, that's the way it should be. And when it comes to drugs, they should have regulation, a regulatory system, legalize and regulate. Leave the police out of it for the most part, right? Because they're supposed to be here to protect us. And if you screw up and mess up and do drugs, that's your own fault in that system. In this system today, if you screw up and do drugs, you're going to get shot. If you screw up and do drugs, you're going to get robbed, right? That's today's system. And you might get poisoned, right? So I still believe in abstinence. That summarize. I always have to I do have to say that because I have to give that whole spiel because people always stereotype and hate drugs and think you can't talk about it. But bottom line, you're saying we can't be a scientist. We can't, only the scientists, it can be in the scientist's hands. That's whose hands it's in. It's in the hands of science to summarize that. But I can't believe it's taken almost 5 minutes to say that. But that really, I need to say it in many different ways and summarize ways and versions for people to hear because I just said it in a way that, put it in perspective to what it is. And it was a short statement, really. So a short explanation. So, but this website, I made this litmus test and I took it and I turned out to be, I thought I was between Democrat and Republican, Libertarian, Independent, when I call myself independent, because I didn't have time to think it through and I'm always arguing policy by policy for a candidate that's running. And right now there's no candidates running. So I'm looking at it point blank, at each policy, and I measured myself. What am I on this policy? What am I on this policy? Am I Democrat, Republican, or Independent on this policy? I did 14 major policies, and found out that I'm between. I'm not independent between Democrat and Republican. I'm independent between Republican and Libertarian. And so, in a sense, an overall perspective, I still have independent thinking, and I'll think along with I'll call them moderate independents. I want to change that name because they're really not moderate. I don't like the word liberal because I view myself as a more liberal thinker than the Democrats who call themselves liberals, and more liberal thinker than anybody. And I call that, I have the liberty to think. The liberal, I think, comes from the word liberty, but it's, anyway, the wordplay, they've done a lot of wordplay, but some words are more fitting. And I like fixing words to where they fit where they're supposed to be in the right part of the puzzle. And so you got Republicans created America, the freedom. The Democrats from the beginning were the ones trying to stop Republicans from being free. And I'm not going to go into what they were called before they were called Democrats and Republicans. Let's just summarize it here. Republicans won the Civil War to end slavery. The Democrats fought the Civil War to try to keep slavery. Right? That's who they are. But before that, the Democrats were the European governments chasing down the Republicans who ran to America to get freedom from Europe. The Democrats represent working with the governments who came here to try to stop them from getting freedom. But eventually, the Republicans won the Civil War. They won other wars against the British and everybody, all that, against the French and all that to help us stay free. But then they had to win a war against the Democrats to end slavery, to outlaw slavery and join us as the United States under the outlawing of slavery. All right? I don't want to get stuck on that again. That's why it took so long last time. All right? And this is already going to be at least 10 minutes. So, in that context, though, I created these party affiliations and mixed them in with the main ones. So the main ones we already had was, and I started out even on the article writing, Libertarian is on the Republican side, but it's further right than the Republicans. Then I had Republican, then I had Independent, and then I had Democrat. So I was assessing according to those basic groups. And I thought I was going to be an independent between Republican and Democrat. I ended up being over here between Libertarian and Republican. Almost every policy. And I call that Liberty Independent. And right now I'm calling Independent between Republican and Democrat. I'm calling that a moderate independent. But they're not that moderate anymore. Although it's mixed up now because some people realize some policies are different than others. But what I found out doing all these policies, 14 policies, is that, and I'm going to read those. I almost can't remember if I did it in the last video. I don't think I've done it yet in this video. But I'm scrolling down. I want to read all 14 policies just quick and show the list here. And I listed the affiliations I came up with. It's backwards, I know, but just showing you. And at the bottom, I want to show I call it my credits. Learn why. Then my website, in case it turns frontward, you have time to read it. And since Chaser Bob and what the date was. So, the website's down there at the bottom and all that. But I ended with a summary. And so, I came up with Libertarian, Liberty Independent, then Republican, then Moderate Independent, then Democrat, then anti-speech dependent instead of independent. Anti-speech dependent, and then the Green Party, which is the straight Communist Party. So the funny thing is the Democrat Party is more closer to the Green Party now. The Green Party maybe took over the Democrat Party and the anti-speech dependents as well. The anti-speech dependents and the Green Party has taken over the Democrat Party. But the problem is we've always acted like the Democrats and Republicans are agreeing buddies, but the Democrats have never really been in agreement with the Republicans. Once Abraham Lincoln got killed, Abraham Lincoln allowed the Democrats to be a part of our government and to be a part of the United States instead of disallowing that. And then he got killed. And so the Republicans, we had put everything into law that's supposed to be in law, but the Democrats have never stopped fighting to trick and act like they're equal, they have the same goals as the Republicans. They don't. And they never have. That's the thing. Now people will dispute that. Some of them, but the reason they've gotten certain powers is that some of them they can convert. People moved over to vote for Trump because they've seen some of the fallacies of the Democrats. Sometimes independents have moved to the Democrat Party, or Republicans that never really believed in God moved to the Democrat Party. But the Democrats have always, they don't pretend not to believe in God. They used to pretend to believe in God, and they may have thought they did, some of them, but they believe more in religion than God, right? And so false religions, it doesn't matter what religion, they just believe in the religion and making people feel good about themselves for believing in religion. But that same religion, that's what the Republicans ran to America to get away from. The religion and government that ran together, the Catholic religion, would hang people for reading the Bible. And that's religion. That's not true religion that believes in a true God. True religion allows people to study the Bible for themselves and make their own decisions, and then also to have good teachers clarify what it means, and you debate and decide if you've really understood what God's trying to say through the Bible, because there's a lot of confusing verses, such as "Thou shalt not look upon the beauty of a woman." Well, it doesn't say "Thou shalt not," but it's really talking about. It doesn't say you can't enjoy the beauty of your wife, but anybody who's not your woman, who's not your wife. And then, by the way, I just said you're a woman. The Democrats will pervert that and say, "You think you own the woman by calling her your woman?" Well, that's my woman. That's my girlfriend. That's my wife. This woman over here is not. That's what it means, right? And she's agreed to be my wife. She's agreed to be my woman. So maybe I don't think it's very often that women are forced. I mean, people can do that, but woman forces men into relationships too. They can do that. Women are bullies too, right? So anyway, Democrats throw all kinds of tricks like that at people, and they did that with the government and pretending to be religious to get votes and all that. But they've always snuck in, discriminating against rich people for taxes to get more money, send it overseas or something. And then, so because they're not pro-American, why do they always send money overseas like that? Because they're not pro-American. They're the anti-American party. And I want to put that into summary. So when they're calling the far right extremists, the further right you go, you have more people that understand that the far right extremists are the ones that ended slavery. Anyway, so it's not there aren't extremists. They've moved further and further left and switched the you call it a pendulum, I guess, but the barometer. I don't know. The barometer. They've changed the numbers on the barometer, but anyway, going far right is not the same as going far left. And they're talking now fascist would be a far right dictator, maybe, which is more unusual, which is not a very common thing. Dictators have always been leftists. So mostly been leftists, not from what we're taught as right and left, but has been Democrat side, liberal, they call them liberal, but I wish they had different names for that. But the dictators have been people who want high taxes and stuff like that. And so they're taking your money, more of your money, want to take all your money. And so that people have no ownership. They want to tax you out of your house. And so that's the problem. That's why they're able to still get, rich people don't share their money much because they're giving it to the government. Part of it. So you wonder why these rich wealthy ball players aren't doing too well. They're giving it to the government. Their house, their property tax ends up costing more than rent almost. And so they're better off not buying a big house because it's going to cost them way more. And so a lot of them end up losing their house later on after they've lost their regular income. And that's because they're giving it to the party of dictators, the Democrat Party, raising that tax on them. And the fact is, they shouldn't have to pay any more tax than I do, right? Or anybody else, right? They should be the same. It's more dollars, but the same percent. They shouldn't have to pay any higher percentage. It should be the same percent across the board. And then if they have a good heart at all, they're going to have enough left over to like, well, what do I do with this? They're going to want to help some people. They should. I mean, if they have any heart at all. And if they don't have a heart at all, that's their business. That's their business. But for now, the government's made it harder for the rich people to help other people. You know, with the tax code, it should be equal, a flat tax for a tax. Okay, liberty. So I came up with liberty. I'm going to read this one time, then I'll just go through the policies and I'll just read straight through it, I guess. Libertarian is the far right, we'll say. Liberty Independent is my own name for the next party affiliation. I'm Liberty Independent. I'm an independent, but a Liberty Independent. And this is where I fall between Libertarian and Republican. So Republicans are too far for me on some things, right? And too debatable nowadays. They're a little bit too, haven't been as embracive of God as I've wanted in certain things. And the drug policies are not good. So I'm independent on Liberty Independent because I also have more conservative. I mean, I have more, you could say liberal, but I have more loose drug policies in a sense. But in other ways, it's stricter because I want the drugs regulated. All right, I want the dealers regulated. All right, and then my views on addicts are more loose, but more forgiving, more informative, more helpful, and would promote more sobriety. Actually, believe it or not, in turn, it would actually promote more sobriety because of all the things I just said: forgiveness, second chances, safer drugs, not being robbed, not losing your house. They'd be in their house. You know, they'd be in their house, by the way. So now they don't have houses. So, and they're getting poisoned. Out in the middle of the street, they're getting poisoned. Outside. If you're going to poison, let them have a house and be poisoned in the house. But I say don't poison them. That's what I'm saying is don't poison them. Stop hiring the cartels. That's the Democrats hiring the cartels, and the Republicans are supporting the system that allows the Democrats to do that, in my view, right? So in my view, the Democrats are hiring the cartels, yeah, and hiring them to poison them and everything. All right, so independent. I'm an independent, but a Liberty Independent, Libertarian Independent. Then you got Republican. Then you got Independent on the getting closer to Democrat, and I call them that a moderate dependent. I may want to change that word later because I'm not sure how moderate they are. Some of them are. So, what are they? At first, I called them an undecided independent, and I thought, well, that's not quite fair. Anyway, but then you have, after the moderate independent, I might keep that, Democrat Party. Then you have anti-speech dependent party. Then you have the Green Party. All right. And I scored on all the policies, mostly between Republican and Libertarian. Independent, but Liberty Independent. That's where I scored. All right. So we got taxes. I'm Liberty Independent. Drug policies, I'm Liberty Independent. Justice system, I'm Liberty Independent. Prison reform, I'm Liberty Independent. I have a lot of ideas for those things. And it's different from any of them. It's different from libertarians. It's different from Republicans. I think mine are some of the best ideas. I think mine are the best ideas I've ever heard. I wish I had a better memory to regurgitate when somebody wants to hear it on the spot real fast. I'm like, oh, well, you got to let me think and look over my notes. I got a lot of ideas. I mean, it's a lot to think through, too. And then I still come up with new ones. So pro-life and pro-abortion, I'm Republican. But Liberty Independent, Republican, they all support the same thing on this. So it's not, and I'll just take a note, it's not pro-life or pro-choice because it's not pro-choice for the kid. A lot of times it's pro-abortion. It's not pro-choice. It's pro-abortion. That's not pro-choice. And a lot of times it's not pro-choice for a woman because the man's forcing a woman to have an abortion so he doesn't have to pay child support. All right? And the abortion clinics talk women into having an abortion, telling them you're not good enough, basically. You're not good enough to be a mother. or you can't afford because you can't afford to be a mother, whatever it is. Instead of talking them into adoption, they talk them into abortion. I'm not saying they do it every time, but it's out there, I guarantee you. And that's not misinformation. That's a warning. Watch out for that kind of stuff. And I don't misinform anybody, by the way. I've never sent out any misinformation. And in fact, if there was somewhat misinformation, it was something I didn't know about. And to me, this is not information. This is to say that abortion clinics purposely advise somebody to have an abortion and try to talk them out of adoption and stuff. They do that on TV. I mean, I've seen them do it on TV. Come on. I mean, anyway. And I'm guaranteed there's some that do that. You think they don't know if there's people that don't, you know what? These people are lying in the first place. They just want to shut me up because I'm trying to make sense here. I'm telling you, there's more sides to the world than what the Democrats, dictators, want you to see. And they don't want you to see that there's other things to think about. And I'm a thinker. And, I might be a slow thinker, but I'm thinking full circle here. Anyway, law enforcement. So pro-abortion, I'm Republican. I mean, pro-life. I'm pro-life Republican. Law enforcement, the baby didn't have a choice. The woman doesn't have a choice. And when the man forces her to do it, again, I'll say so he doesn't have to pay child support. And the pimps force women to have abortions. That's not pro-choice for the woman or the baby or the father. If it was some John that she actually liked, but the pimp wouldn't let her be free to date and marry the guy. Who knows? So law enforcement, independent, libertarian. Independent, I say libertarian instead of liberty independent. So I might even go as far as being libertarian on law enforcement, which means stay out of our business for the most part. And there's rules that help police stay out of our business a lot. The Democrats are the ones trying to change that. Anyway, and it's the opposite. So that's the opposite of what they've led you to believe, right? So immigration. I'm liberty independent. You could say, and Republican, but Republicans have been too lenient. I say liberty independent because I think people should be tested to be supportive of one nation under God. And like the free market system, they should take a little test that leans more Republican than Democrat. Because Republicans are the ones that founded this nation, not the Democrats. And that's what I'm becoming bold about. I've never said that so boldly before, but I've actually realized that's true, and it's still the case. The Republicans created freedom. The Republicans ended slavery. The Republicans created welfare. The Republicans still stand for low taxation instead of stealing from people. The Republicans are the ones who believe in second chances and everything else, right? I mean, so, and then the media's lied about them all the time, right? So the Republicans are still a little stiff, though, because they've been taught to be stiff by the Democrats, challenging them to be stiff, like they were with trying to take Trump's house away from them. And so some of them had fallen for that because they all we had was CBS, NBC, and that's almost it. ABC, I don't know when we had ABC, but that's almost all we used to have. America only had those stations, and you could see that they're all Democrat. But so we got brainwashed a little bit, but somehow God helped. Republicans looked to God for wisdom and somehow started, even though we're being brainwashed by Hollywood owning the only 3 stations that we used to have back in the 80s, early 80s. I think cable came out in the 80s. I can't remember exactly. But maybe the late 80s we started having cable television instead of just the 3 main stations. I got to finish before 30 minutes. I can't believe it's this long. Immigration, though. I think they should take a test, a litmus test or whatever, and see if they actually want liberty, or if they're coming here to try to tear down America, or for the New World Order. People shouldn't come here. We shouldn't be bringing people here to vote for the New World Order. That they want to come here just to vote our freedom away for the New World Order. There should be a test on that. And if they lie, I mean, I guess you can't figure that out, but there may be a way to figure it. But at least we know who they are, and they have to have an ID. All right. I mean, or at least get an ID instead of sneaking in with no ID and be just here to kill folks or whatever it is. Immigrants, let's see. I understand some people want to escape other places. But problem is we got to watch out for the ones that are coming for the reasons I'm talking about, because they hate America. So there's people coming here because they hate America. Then people have to be vetted for that reason. And because you can't just, we're not just an escape route from every other nation either. We can't be that. We're not God. You can't get into heaven without Christ, basically. So there's no way into heaven once you die, unless you were friends with the Creator, right? So you got to figure out how to make friends with us, unfortunately, because we're not the escape route. I guess we've had people come here for refugees, but we've helped that happen, and we've done it for refugees. But we bring them here. We have to bring them here anyway. But border security, foreign affairs, liberty, independent, and I just look mainly at protecting Israel, but staying out of everybody else's business, like Russia and Ukraine. We should stay out of their business. I understand we have to have. So I'm not libertarian. I'm not an independent libertarian on this, because libertarians don't want us around the world almost at all. And that, I've debated that. I wonder what that would be like. But we have to, because of Air Force, we have to have intelligence protecting from air attacks and stuff. We have to know what's going on around the world in that sense for security reasons. But there might be better ways to do it than being everywhere around the world, stationed around the world everywhere. But I don't know. But as far as we should, that's a tough one. Foreign affairs can be a tough one. But I would say I'm liberty independent on that. Energy policy, I only got a few minutes left. 2 minutes. Energy policies, I'm independent libertarian. I'm not going to go into that. Environment, I'm liberty independent. Protect our water. Stuff about protecting, we can protect the air some, but as far as the air goes, you can only do so much. Which, by the way, I thought of one today. When I saw the aerospace thing. The one thing, I like that they're trying to go all out with scientists and increase our capacity to protect ourselves and all that. But when I saw that space rocket flying off the last couple of days, I'm thinking, this reminds me of the Tower of Babel. People trying to get to heaven through their own power. And then that's where God changed language. That's how we got ethnicity. And we spread around the earth based on speaking different languages. Well, I didn't touch on that. That's one I didn't do here. But I would say I'm liberty independent on that, too. I'm not going to go as far as libertarians and say we shouldn't be involved in those sciences and all that, engineering. But with government, I think we should, because of the capabilities of being beaten war by a satellite or whatever. You have to know stuff. But I'm thinking, okay, we sent a space rocket out and they're wanting to go live in Mars and all that, and they have people live at Mars, but we're tearing a hole in our ozone layer every time we go up there. So I do care about the environment, but the Democrats use the environment to make laws and stuff to steal from farmers and different things like that. They're trying to steal people's property and their rights to have a car and transportation. That's baloney, all that stuff. They don't care about the environment. One nation under God. I'm independent Republican, because I think liberty independent, they both want that. But liberty, anyway, I won't go into that. Gun control, I'm independent Republican. Government aid, I'm Republican, and liberty independent. Now, I'm going to end there and just say, I can't explain it. I don't have time. I got to go.